No music for this video here today, ladies and gents. And I know, you're probably disappointed in not hearing any music, but the reason why I'm not choosing to do any music this time is because I just don't feel like it. So, I just don't feel like it tonight. So, anyway, hello everybody, and welcome to another Blast from the Past review. This is going to be an interesting one, as you guys know. Sometimes, not all the time, but sometimes I will, at a certain time of the year, if there's ever a pay-per-view coming up, I will tend to sometimes go back and look at an old pay-per-view of that era, of the era, of maybe an era I grew up in or something along those lines, or go back and choose to review an old pay-per-view that I haven't watched in a long time. And since WrestleMania is right around the corner, I decided to choose a WrestleMania. And oh my god, outside of the WrestleManias I've already reviewed, which the WrestleManias I've already reviewed was 30, 32, and 31, and obviously all the reviews I've made of 33, 34, 35, 36, 37, 38, 39, and 40, going back and looking at these older WrestleMania cards and just looking them up on Wikipedia or even looking them up on my old DVDs I used to have, it just makes me go, oh my god, a lot of these cards are really bad. And you know what? It reminds me of this upcoming WrestleMania. WrestleMania 41, it's got a real terrible card. At least, in my opinion, it's a bit of a terrible card. So I guess, what a better way to talk about one terrible WrestleMania to talk about another one. This one is we're going to be talking about the 25th anniversary WrestleMania, which is WrestleMania 25. There are not a lot of good matches on this one. I think when it comes to this particular WrestleMania, there's probably only like maybe 2 good matches, but I guess we'll talk about it as we go along. There was a pre-show match at WrestleMania 25, and that was the Colognes of Carlito and Primo defeating The Miz and John Morrison to unify the WWE Tag Team titles. Yes, they unified the Tag Team titles on the pre-show of WrestleMania. Really shows you how much WWE really cared about the WWE Tag Team Championships back then, and I've never been a fan of title unifications. So yeah, never really ever been a fan of those kinds of any of those kinds. I've never been a fan of title unifications. So the first main match on the card was CM Punk, Christian, Finn Balor, Kane, Kofi Kingston, Mark Henry, MVP, and Shelton Benjamin in a Money in the Bank ladder match. Man, I actually miss Money in the Bank ladder matches being at WrestleMania. I actually really do, because I think WrestleMania was a perfect time to do the Money in the Bank, and it was all and just having it as its own pay-per-view just kind of kills it, in my opinion. But clearly, WWE is never going to go back to doing them at WrestleMania, so I guess we might as well appreciate the ones that did happen at WrestleMania. So CM Punk would win this. He would become the first superstar to go back-to-back WrestleManias there. He'd go back-to-back WrestleManias with that. And, let's talk about this, shall we? The Miss WrestleMania Battle Royal, with Mae Young as the special guest timekeeper. This was their only way of getting the divas onto WrestleMania at the time, and I gotta tell you, I really hated a lot of the ways they got the women onto WrestleMania. So anyway, you want to know the participants in this matchup? We've got Alicia Fox, Brie Bella, Eve Torres, Gail Kim, Jackie Gator. Does anyone remember Jackie Gator? Julian Hall, Joe Giovanni. Does anyone remember Joe Giovanni? Katie Lee Burchill. Does anyone remember her? Kelly Kelly. Layla, Maria Kanellis, Maurice, Melina, Michelle McCool, Mickie James, Molly Holly, Natalia, Nikki Bella, Rosa Mendez, Sunny, yes, Sunny, Tiffany, not Stratton, Taryn Terrell, Tori Wilson, and Victoria. Out of all the names I was surprised to see on there was Sunny, because I thought she never had a match in WWE, because she was around in the 90s and she was always a manager. I mean, I guess a Battle Royal is probably the only way you could really fit someone like her in there. But the person that won this Battle Royal was Santino Marella in a woman's wrestling attire. That is how shit and how terrible this whole thing was. Santana Marella, aka Santino Marella. That is how shit this match truly was. If you want to know, if this was a good example, this is a good example of telling you that Vince McMahon didn't give a shit about the Divas back in the day. That just shows you how great he cared about the women back then. I don't even know who the Divas champion was by then. 2009? Probably the Divas champion was probably in the match. Maybe it was Eve. Maybe it was Maurice. I don't know who the Divas champion was in 2009. It's hard for me to remember. Or was the Divas championship around then? I can't remember. Either the women's or the Divas championships were around then. And my probable guess is that probably the champions were involved in that match. Michelle McCool and Marie sound like the most obvious ones to be the champions, if I have to take a guess during that time period. And the fact that your women's champions can't even win this ridiculous Battle Royal, and you're just going to give it to Santino Marella just wearing a girl's outfit, just really shows you how shit the women's division was back then. I think Sunny was the first woman eliminated. I generally cannot remember. But yeah, we don't talk about her because of her past problems. But regardless, this was apparently her only match. Surprise, surprise, I guess. Surprise, surprise, I guess. I guess a Battle Royal is the only way to really squeeze her into anything if she was to compete in any way. Because, oof, I heard she was not very good when she did wrestle. Oof. Probably, she might put Eva Marie to shame. But regardless, yeah. What a great way to showcase your women's division by just having Santino Marella dressed as a girl win a Battle Royal over other great talented women on that roster, like Kelly Kelly and Brie Bella and Nikki Bella and Mickie James, Michelle and Melina and Maurice. Even Victoria, yep, Santino Marella is definitely the best person to choose out of all those other girls who have far more talent. Not a knock on Santino Marella, the guy's funny and entertaining, but this was just really, really dumb. Chris Jericho took on a bunch of legends. He took on Jimmy Snuka, Ricky Steamboat, and Roddy Piper. I actually remember this for some bizarre reason. I don't know why. Well, I do have the DVD, so I guess there is a reason for me to remember. But I think Chris Jericho just hated legends, and he just wanted to beat the crap out of them. And yeah, he did. And he won the handicap match. Jericho won. And he got knocked out by somebody. I can't remember who, but I just remember he got knocked out by someone on the outside who was a special guest. And we get Matt Hardy versus Jeff Hardy. Actually, I am wrong. I do remember this match being good. It was an Extreme Rules match. Obviously, the Hardys doing their usual stuff. And yeah, so I thought it was a good match, and Matt Hardy would win by doing a twist of fate while having Jeff Hardy's head wedged between a chair. I will say that was a very, very sickening and brutal spot there, to say the least. JBL will defend his Intercontinental Championship against Rey Mysterio. Here's the thing. I totally forgot that JBL was ever Intercontinental Champion. And I also forgot he was United States Champion. Like, obviously we remember him when he was the WWE Champion, because it was a record-setting title reign at the time. But I just never remembered him being a mid-card champion. I just remember watching some of the older WrestleManias, and I'm just like, I just don't ever remember him winning those championships. But he did. And I guess that's a good reason why I don't remember them, because they didn't last long, I guess. So he was taking on Rey Mysterio. JBL vowed to win. But unfortunately for him, he ended up losing very, very quickly. In 21 seconds. Yep. What a great way to treat the Intercontinental Championship. But it's JBL, so who the hell cares, right? JBL would then say that he would quit pro wrestling after that. So that was technically his retirement match. And I do remember that being his retirement. Okay, here we go. Finally. We can finally talk about a good match for a change. And that being The Undertaker versus Shawn Michaels. I remember this being one of the only matches I remember. I know Randy Orton's on this card, but here's the thing. I never really liked him wrestling Triple H. I never really liked the matches between him and Triple H. So yeah, I'm not going to be a fan of their match at WrestleMania. I just remember this being one of the only real matches I remember genuinely liking at WrestleMania. So 30 minutes. It was half an hour of action. It was a great match. I cannot give justice to this match. This is one of the better matches of the year. There's definitely not a lot of good stuff, but this was definitely one of the better matches. If you have not seen this match, I would advise you to go watch it. It was a really good one. And, you know, it's kind of great that I saw Shawn Michaels and The Undertaker during my years growing up as a wrestling fan, because I know the story of Shawn Michaels being forced to retire in 1998, I think, because of a back injury, and to see him come back in 2002 and have his second run and all that. You know, yes, it was a pleasure to see Shawn Michaels at least wrestle. I did think it was at least a pleasure to see him wrestle. And also, it's kind of ironic that I saw Shawn Michaels wrestle when he was at his best, but in the 90s, he was an absolute prick in the 90s. So, he was an absolute prick in the 90s from the backstage stuff. I remember I've watched a whole bunch of videos about him back in the 90s, and to see the kind of guy he was in the early time, and then see him turn things around and now during this second run was definitely good to see. So I definitely did appreciate Shawn Michaels and The Undertaker when I did see them, and the fact that I was even alive to see Shawn Michaels and The Undertaker both retire, and I guess Triple H too, because he's not really wrestling anymore, and even Edge and even John Cena. You know, just seeing all these wrestlers, you know, retire, you know, just makes me go, well, at least I feel good that I was around to see it. So, yeah, they had a tremendous match. This is when Undertaker was still undefeated at WrestleMania, because obviously we know the WrestleMania he does lose. And I forgot what number this was, to be honest. I forgot what number this was. I think it was 15. I can't remember. You guys will remind me what number he was when he beat Shawn Michaels at WrestleMania 35. So yeah, it was just such an incredible match these two guys had. Easily the best match on the WrestleMania card by far. And Undertaker would win, defeating Shawn Michaels, remaining undefeated at WrestleMania. Then we get a triple threat match for the World Heavyweight title. We have Super John Cena taking on the Big Show and Edge. Even back in 2009, the Big Show was still challenging for top-level championships. I mean, it's kind of crazy. But I think I remember the whole storyline is that Vicky Guerrero was cheating on Edge for Big Show and all that, and John Cena caught Big Show red-handed and all that. It was just such a silly storyline. I never liked Vicky Guerrero. I never liked her. I never liked Vicky. She was just always so irritating to listen to on TV, and I know that's supposed to be the point of her being a heel. She's supposed to be annoying. But here's the thing. In today's modern day wrestling fans, you get Liv Morgan being an annoying heel, and you get people complaining about her being annoying heel, being very, very cringe. And I'm just like, guys, were you guys around when Vicky Guerrero used to be around? Vicky Guerrero was by far the most cringe and the most annoying on-screen television character in WWE history. The things that Liv Morgan and today's wrestlers do when they sound cringe is nothing compared to Vicky Guerrero. Nothing compared to Vicky Guerrero. And also Chavo Guerrero was around then as well. He was out there as well. I was never a fan of Chavo Guerrero either. He's now back wrestling in the year 2025 on TNA Impact. Chavo Guerrero is still wrestling to this very day. It is absolutely insane. Absolutely insane. But John Cena came into this match as the challenger, as did the Big Show. Edge was the World Heavyweight Champion. I remember Edge lost the WWE title in the Elimination Chamber. That eventually was won by Triple H. And then Edge would come in and attack Kofi Kingston, take him out, enter the World Heavyweight Championship Elimination Chamber, and would become World Heavyweight Champion. So then Edge would then lose the title here to John Cena, as John Cena would create a big epic moment at Mania, doing an AA on both Edge and the Big Show. Well, Edge kind of slipped off. But I guess it was supposed to be like a double AA on both Big Show and Edge, and John Cena would win. This was definitely full force Super Cena mode during this time period. But John Cena would win the World Heavyweight Championship. You know, I always thought seeing John Cena carry the World Heavyweight Championship was always weird. I don't know why. I just always thought it was weird seeing him win the secondary World Heavyweight Championship. Or the secondary WWE Championship. Like not seeing him win the WWE Championship, I always found really weird. So having him win the secondary World Championship, I don't know. I just always found that weird. And it was just something I never really ever got used to. I'm just like, if I ever see John Cena as a world champion, I always just think him being the WWE champion just feels natural, because that was the title he always won. But seeing him with the World Heavyweight Championship around about this time period, and even in 2013, was to me just bizarrely weird. I always just found it weird, seeing him win the secondary title instead of the main one. So it's main event time. It is Triple H versus Randy Orton for the WWE Championship. If Triple H gets counted out or disqualified, he would lose the championship. This was during Randy Orton's. Now, a lot of people will say 2009 Randy Orton was the best Randy Orton, and I will agree wholeheartedly. 2009 was Randy Orton's peak as a heel. He was really much of a peak heel at this point. He punted Vince McMahon. He punted Shane McMahon. He DDT'd Stephanie McMahon. He was on a mission to take out the McMahon family, because Vince McMahon threatened to fire Randy Orton. This was a storyline I definitely remember very, very, very vividly. This was a storyline I definitely remembered very vividly. But I just never liked Randy Orton wrestling Triple H. I don't know why. I just never really liked seeing these two fight each other, because it was always the case of, well, I still remember what Triple H did to Randy Orton back in 2004, burying him, you know, when he became the youngest world heavyweight champion. I just remember that time period, and I never liked Triple H for doing that. I never liked Triple H doing that. I thought it was kind of wrong for Triple H to do that back then, because you, like, spent all this time building Randy Orton up as the future of WWE at that time, and then when he finally got to the big leagues, you just take the belt off him immediately, and they just, all that built up meant for nothing, and then he would just lose the world championship in a month's time to Triple H, back to Triple H, and they tried to make Randy Orton a babyface, which didn't really work out. I will admit, Randy's definitely a better heel, but he's definitely improved as a babyface nowadays. But obviously, we all know Randy Orton has become the legend that he is. So I guess, hindsight 2020, I should be all like, well, he technically didn't get buried. He technically wasn't buried. He's still around today. He's a legend. He's a 15-time world champion or 14-time world champion. So I guess it really shouldn't have mattered. I don't know. I know, but I know a lot of people say that. But yeah, I've just never really liked Randy Orton and Triple H fighting each other, because I always have that worry that Triple H will just win, and that was the case here at WrestleMania 25. And also, the fans didn't really care about this match, despite that the feud being very good. Despite the feud and the build-up was so good, the match itself wasn't very good. Randy Orton did win the Royal Rumble that year, and he should have rightfully main evented WrestleMania. I'm not saying this match should not have main evented, because Randy Orton did win the Royal Rumble that year, so he did rightfully deserve to main event WrestleMania. But I just think Triple H and Randy Orton's matches, in my opinion, have never really been that great. I've never really liked them wrestling each other. I just don't think their chemistry is really all that great. Yes, Triple H helped elevate Randy Orton to becoming the star he is, but I just don't think, you know, their chemistry was ever that great. Triple H would win the WWE Championship, but again, it would ultimately be pointless, because Randy Orton would eventually win the WWE Championship at the Backlash pay-per-view a month later. So why did they just not crown Randy Orton the WWE Champion at WrestleMania instead of waiting until Backlash? I don't know. It's always been so... I don't know. We always know how stupid WWE can be. And that was WrestleMania 35. Honestly, guys, this was not a great WrestleMania. Outside of maybe the Hardy Brothers, Undertaker's match, there's just not a lot of good stuff on here. And it's a shame. And it's a shame that the women had to get casted aside for Santino Marella. Also, Beth Phoenix was in this Battle Royal. I should have mentioned her because she was last eliminated by Santino. I should have mentioned that, but, you know, it really didn't matter. But, yeah, Beth was there in that match as well, and all that, and because Beth and Santino were kind of like a partnership back then, and all that nonsense, but, yeah. But yeah. I never really liked the women being, but yeah. This was a good example of how crap the Divas division was back then. Despite them having so many great wrestlers, that you're gonna have Santino Marella win a stupid battle royal over, you know, an actual woman that actually deserved that honor. But anyway, that's gonna be all for this Blast from the Past review, guys. I hope you guys enjoyed. Hit that thumbs up and let me know your thoughts down below, and I will see you all next time.